on dumping rain. Heather.
All right, Doug Luzader live for us. Thank you, Doug. Well, President Trump, as you've heard, ramping up his response to the crisis in Texas. Here now to react to how he's handling his first natural disaster, a member of the Independent Women's Forum Board of Directors and, of course, former New York Congresswoman Nan Hayworth. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure, Heather.
So overwhelmingly, the people that I've spoken to, the governor of Texas, mayors in these different cities, including Houston, have had positive things to say about the president's response so far.
Absolutely. And, you know, President Trump has great compassion and great leadership and executive qualities, and he has put superb people in place. Brock Long, whom we just saw, Tom Bossert, and of course at Homeland Security, and of course General Kelly, who is his chief of staff and was
so
at
even prior to the devastation and the hurricane hitting, do you think the decisions he made were beneficial?
Yes, because it's all about logistics and about making sure that there are clear lines of direction and execution. They have pre-placed resources all around the Southeast where they'll be able to mobilize them. And they've also coordinated with HHS, emergency medical teams, the Coast Guard, National Army Corps of Engineers. I mean, there's just a lot of logistics that they've really managed with exceedingly
at least
competence.
10 other states helping out, because FEMA apparently now has in place a national system where people can jump in and help the first responders who are there that cannot work continuously. They need some help.
That's right.
And you're speaking from experience because you dealt with Sandy and Irene here in New York.
And Irene, I was the member of Congress for the Hudson Valley, and it is so important to have that coordination between the local and the state and the federal officials and agencies, because it's just a massive mobilization.
So what does that mean to an individual, to someone who's impacted? Because we have thousands and thousands of people. I mean, there will be more as the sun comes up today who have lost their homes, all their belongings. So what does that aid mean to them?
What it means is that not only is there in the immediate period, is there a way to safety, you know, search and rescue, recovery, but also in the weeks and months that follow. FEMA will be there, the flood insurance program will be there, Small Business Administration will be there to aid these residents in rebuilding their homes and recovering what they can of their resources and rebuilding these communities.
Yeah, what lessons did we learn from Katrina? I mean, I know we saw so many people that were in those shelters for so long. That's at least one thing we learned. I mean, we have to do something so people don't have to stay in those places for so long.
Well, that's right. And much of it obviously is long-term planning so that we can do all we can to anticipate the potential disastrous effects of a terrible storm. Well, yes, Heather. And one of the challenges in Houston is that their zoning laws are fairly loose. They've had lots and lots of development over the past 10 years in particular that have covered up land that ordinarily might absorb some of that moisture. So there are long-term planning aspects that have to come into play, and leadership from the federal level is great for that too. But in the immediate period, what they want to make sure is that they have all the resources they need. When they need extra helicopters, for example, to rescue people off rooftops, they put out the call. The Coast Guard, the military come in with those resources from the federal level.
All right. Thank you so much, Nan Hayworth, joining us. We appreciate your insight.
Sure.
All right. Well, our live continuing coverage.